and welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are going to be installing comp stage 2 cam, oil pump gears, and crank sprocket in this 18 GT. Now this is the same procedure for 2018 to 2020 Mustang GTs. So I've spared you guys the boredom of showing you me ripping everything off the engine, the timing cover, the valve covers, so forth and so forth, and I've got down to the nitty-gritty stuff. So guys, in this video, I know I have a Gen 2 timing procedure video with oil pump gears in that, but I'm going to do, this is Gen 3, so I'm going to cover, since I'm doing cams, I'm going to cover the timing procedure, oil pump gears, and cam install in this one video. Now as I go along in the video, I will be throwing pictures up of torque sequences and things that you need to know, so you can pause the video and reference those pictures from the Ford workshop manual as we go along. As you can see, we are ready to start taking the timing chains off. Now, timing procedure for a Gen 3 is the exact same for a Gen 2. So what we're going to do, guys, as you can see, I've got the crank keyway at 12 o'clock. Now where you want to make sure is that the R on the passenger side is facing up, because the passenger side is the first timing chain you will take off. So keyway at 12 o'clock, R is straight up. If the R is not straight up, you'll want to rotate the crank 1 full revolution back to 12 o'clock until you get the R straight up. So basically, guys, if you've never watched any of my other videos, when you have this in the correct position, as you can see, none of the cam lobes are pressing down on any of the valve springs. That ensures that when we take the chain off, nothing's going to bounce around or anything like that. It's in a neutral position on this side. So guys, that's what we're going to do now. We're going to get this tensioner off, get the chains off, and then I will show you what we're going to do to get that side off. One thing you want to make sure of when you're doing this job is you want a clean surface to put all of your parts that are coming out from the inside of the engine. You do not want to just lay them down and get them dirty. That's very important. As you can see, we've got everything off of this side and we've got it laid out. So what I do is, when you're facing the car, everything on this side, when I put it on the table, I turn around, everything's on this side, just like I'm sitting in front of the car. You know, everything's, you can't really get it backwards. It goes in a certain spot, but I do that, so when I'm going back with it, I just grab and go. I don't have to think about it. Now, right now, we've got the keyway in 12 o'clock, so what we're going to do is we're going to rotate the crank to where the keyway is at 5 o'clock. So rotate clockwise to 5 o'clock. Alright, so once you have the keyway at 5 o'clock, down here, you want to look over here, and your L should be, hold on guys, let it focus. Your L should be facing right there, facing that away. Now all you're going to do is take the tensioner off, the guides off, and the chain off on this side. Once you get the timing chains off, you'll want to remove the crank sprocket, and in order to get the oil pump off of a Gen 3, you have to lower the oil pan. Really quick, I just want to show you the troublesome bolts. This bolt right here, it's sitting right above the steering rack. It can be a pain at times. If you take the wiring harness loose, which you have to do anyway, drop the oil pan, take the wiring harness, kind of pull the little trees out, and then stick the wiring harness up. You can get a wrench up in there, and you can loosen it up and then walk it out by hand. And then this one right here, which is hidden right there, you have to put a wrench on that and then get it loose. And I use a stubby ratchet wrench to get it the rest of the way out once I loosen it up. And then if you take all this cover right here that's on these cars, you can get to this bolt that sits right there pretty easy. But I take the trouble bolts out first, that way the rest of it just goes easy. And of course the front 4 bolts, you remove those when you take the timing cover off. But guys, we're going to get the rest of this pan dropped. Alright, really quick guys, this is what I want to show you back here. That right there is where your silicone's at. I was talking about earlier that you have to remove. You have to be very careful when you're removing that silicone not to let it drop into the oil pan. You have to do that on both sides. If you see right there, and then you can kind of move the pan back over and you can see it focus. You can see it right there also. And then the silicone on the front, you'll do that when you put the timing cover on. But this right here is what you gotta watch out for. Another thing you gotta watch out for, when you pull this down, you gotta make sure that this oil pan gasket stays inside of the oil pan. So you'll just kind of want to take your hand across of it and kind of just feel and make sure it stays in. But we've got it loose from the oil pump now. We'll lower the car back down and we'll take the oil pump off. Alright, so as you can see, the oil pan is dropped down far enough to get the pickup tube out of the oil pump. So now all we have to do is remove the 4 bolts to get the oil pump off. So that's what we're going to do right now, guys. Once you have the oil pump out, you want to flip it over. Like I said earlier, you want a clean surface. Put plenty of paper towels on because you do get a little messy with the oil doing this. But you have 8 bolts and they are T30. So you just remove the bolts from the oil pump. Now once I have them all broke loose by hand, I will take a 1/4 inch impact and pull them out. Alright guys, so once you have the backing plate off, you have access to the oil pump gears. Remove the center first and then remove the outer part of the gear. So we have the Boudary oil pump gears. I prefer this brand when doing any kind of installations, and one of the reasons is when something is shipped to you, how they take care of how they ship it says a lot for the company, and they ship it in an airtight package with oil inside of it. Some of the oil pump gear manufacturers, I'm not gonna name no names, will just toss them in a box. They rattle around, they get to you, and you know, as they rattle around, they can get little nicks on. Boudary says to install their oil pump gears with the writing facing up as you're installing them. So that's what we're gonna do. So you're going to install the outer gear first. Now what I do, guys, this is where I say it gets a little messy, is I will pour some oil on the gear. And you can never have too much oil, but I will pour oil on the gear and just a little bit into the pump and then rub it around where I'm going to put the oil pump gears in. You kind of just want to hold it like this and kind of let it drop in. Don't force it in, let it drop in easy. Just let it drop in easy, and it should turn very smoothly, just like that, guys. All right, so then you'll want to put oil on the inner gear. Like I said, just pour oil on it. It's going to get a little messy, but you need plenty of oil, guys. And then you're going to want to set this inside of that gear. Like I said, don't force it. It should go in very easily. Alright, so once that is done, you're going to take the plate and you're going to put it right back on. Alright, so here's what's very important about putting these bolts in. As you can see, these bolts are tapered. I don't know if you can tell it really well. These bolts are tapered and the backing plate is tapered. If you put one bolt in and you tighten it all the way down, you don't give everything time to center. So what I do is I put each bolt in by hand and start it. You gotta be very careful. You do not want to cross thread any of these bolts. So start them all by hand and make sure they all thread in nicely. All right, we're gonna start right here, and I'm not going to tighten it down. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just bringing it down just a little. And what we're going to do is we're going to let the taper part of the bolts center the backing plate where it needs to be as we start coming down. All right, guys, once you get them all snugged up, you'll want to go back and torque them all down to 89 inch-pounds. You might need an assistant to hold the oil pump. I usually like to have somebody hold the oil pump. If you don't have anybody to hold the oil pump, you can hold it and torque it. It's a lot better if you have somebody help you. So you just torque the oil pump down to 89 inch-pounds. As you can see, I'm torquing it down in a star pattern. So now you just want to go through and make sure you got them all torqued. I will go, once I torque them all down in a star pattern, I will go back through in order, walking around just to make sure that I've got them all torqued, that I didn't miss one. All right guys, we're good to go. Now here's the final test. You should be able to take it and rotate it just like that with ease, which as you can see, they're not binding up, everything's rotating very smoothly, and that is what you want. So now you're going to take it back over and install it onto the car. Now what you'll want to do when you go onto the crank, you'll want to line these flat spots with the flat spots on the crank. Alright guys, so it was slide on just like that. All I did was align the slots in the oil pump to match the crank and then slid it right on. So now you'll just install the bolts and then torque to sequence. I'm going to throw a picture up right here with the torque specs and how to torque it. All right guys, on this crank sprocket, you'll want to install it with the lip facing you. Also, another sign of how to install it is the timing mark will be facing you. As you can see, there's no timing mark on that side. Timing mark is on this side, but you'll install it with the crank keyway. There's no real way of getting it wrong. So you'll just rotate it till you find the crank keyway, and sometimes they're tight and sometimes they slide right on like that. If they're tight, don't go taking a hammer or anything else, just kind of give it some persuasion and get it on there, but don't be beating it with the hammer, please. All right guys, so once that's on, you're ready to bolt the pan back up. Once we do that guys, we will be starting on the cam installation, and then we will retime everything. All right here guys, you will want to apply silicone to where you scraped it off before, where I showed you earlier in the video. Just apply silicone back. It's where the backing plate meets the block and the corners of the oil pan meet up against that. Really quick before we get started on the cams, the oil pan is bolted back up. Now one thing you got to make sure of, you have a seal that is right in here for the pickup tube to slide into. You want to make sure that you raise the pan evenly and you place that just right and push up. You do not need to have it move over here. Gently push up, because if you have it too far over and you push up, you can mess up that seal. So guys, just a important tip right there. We are about to get started on the cams. Comp Stage 2 cams uses the same procedure as stock cams. You do not have to put springs in. You do not have to limit the phasers. They install just like the factory cams. So we are going to be using the Ford Workshop manual. Really quick, this is something I do and I suggest it for everyone, is to only take apart one side, then put one side back together. Cam caps have an orientation and you've got to keep them in the exact spot that they are. It's very important. All right guys, so first what we're going to do is we are going to take these bolts loose. Now if you notice on the cams, there is a spot right here squared off that is designed to put a wrench on so you can hold the cams, loosen the bolts, and torque the bolts without the cam moving. One thing you do not want to do, you do not want to clamp down on it with a pair of pliers or anything like that. Cams do not need to be clamped down on. You use a wrench, and that's what those are made for. Use a wrench, grab a hold of it, and hold it while somebody loosens up these bolts. And also you'll do that when you're torquing the bolts down. All right guys, so let's get started. We're going to move the phasers first. All right guys, you'll want to remove the bolts. Now you are going to replace these bolts. These are torque to yield, and per factory workshop manual, they need to be replaced. All right, so once you remove the bolts, you're going to want to slide this forward just a little. The book says 2 millimeter. All you want to do is get this down and then rotate it 45 degrees. We're going to take the front cap off first, and then we will remove the rest of them. There is no sequence to removing them. through Ford Workshop, but there is a sequence to torquing them. Alright guys, so we're going to remove this and then remove the rest of these cam caps. Very important, you want to keep these in order. This is the intake cam, this is the exhaust cam, and as you see on the front right here, these are made differently. You cannot put these in the wrong spot. Somebody asked me, could you get the intake cam and the exhaust and the intake? There is no way to do that. On the Gen 3s, they use totally different phasers, and there's no way to do it. So anyway guys, we're going to remove the front cam cap and the rest of the cam caps, put everything in order, and then remove the cams. Alright, once you have the cams out, as you can see, I've laid them all in order. If you was to put one down and forget where it went or where it goes, they are numbered. Alright, so you see right there it has 7, it has an arrow pointing forward. Starting on the exhaust side, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I was to pick up this one right here, it would have a 10 on it, which it does, and it has an arrow pointing forward, so it would go in very last intake cam with the arrow facing toward the front of the engine. So guys, right now we're going to get the cam unboxed. I'm going to do one cam at a time. I'm going to put the cam in, and then I will put all the cam caps back and torque everything to spec. Alright, so here are the cams. Really quick, I want to show you right here. You see here it says right intake, right exhaust, left intake, left exhaust. Only thing that had me, had me at first, you see where it says focus, left exhaust on there. It says that on all the boxes, but you can, the specs are different on the boxes, and it actually has RI, LI, LE, RE. So I mean, you cannot get them wrong. Alright guys, I'm going to throw up a picture of the torque sequence for the cams and the placement, and then once the cams are in place and torqued down, I will show you on the front of the cams how everything needs to look before you put the phasers back on. So we're going to go ahead and install the cams now. Alright, so once the cams are installed, I can actually show you exactly what I'm talking about as far as orientation. I'm going to throw a picture up right here. Okay guys, as you can tell in the picture, there is a certain way for these cams to set. It clearly states it in the picture. Alright, so as you can see, we've got exactly where it is in the picture. Now if you see these slots, these right here, this right here is where these right in here are going to set. Okay guys, it's where they're going to set. Alright guys, one other thing I want to mention before we put the phasers on really quick. As you see, there is a, if it focuses, let me shine the light up in there, there's a filter in that. Comp cams does not send the filter, so you'll want to take the filter out of your cam. If the filter looks good, it looks clean, you can reuse it. If it doesn't, put a new one in. But it goes in there just like that. You will have to put that in there. That's very important. You don't want to leave that out. Right here, I'm going to go over this really quick on how to time the phasers together with the secondary timing chain. Now I'm going to throw up a picture right here. This is out of the workshop manual. As you can see, the intake phaser has the timing mark sitting in between the two painted links, and the exhaust has the timing mark exactly on the painted link on the other one. Right here, guys, as you can see, we've got it set up just like the picture. So we are good to go as far as that goes. Now you'll want, when you're installing these, you're gonna wanna keep them tight. You'll wanna allow them not to move, not to jump teeth. And that's very, very important. You do not want these to jump teeth while you're installing them. Alright, so on the driver's side, we got the cams installed. We've got the phasers on and torqued down. We got the cams timed together correctly. Now it's time to do the passenger side. Now, one thing I do want to show you guys is different on this side. This is your base for your direct injection pump. But that's the only thing different on this side, and that takes the place of two your cam caps right here. With this base right here. So guys, we're gonna get this side taken off and get the cams installed, and then we'll pick it back up, and I will show you guys the front here of how the cams sit down in there and where they should be sitting at whenever you bolt the cam caps down to install the phasers on this side. Alright, so we got the cams in on this side. Everything is torqued down. And right here is where the cams should stay. I will throw a picture up to show you also the right hand side cam. Alright, so just make sure as you're putting them in that they look like this right here. And like I said, you can always go back to the video and freeze the picture also, because the picture has little lines drawn on that as well. But once it's in, don't forget that filter. It goes inside the intake cam, and it's only on the intake cam. You do not have one on the exhaust cam, only on the intake cam. Do not forget that filter. Alright, so here is the cam phasers for the right hand side, the passenger side. And I'll throw a picture up right here so you can reference it. It's just like the other one, except the cam phaser lines are in a different spot, but it's just like the other side. The timing mark on the intake goes between the two color links, and the timing mark on the exhaust phaser goes on the one timing link. Just remember, 2 intake, 1 exhaust, and you'll be fine. Alright guys, really quick, I know I went over some on the other side. I just want to go over this again because this is setting in a different spot on this side. But this right here and this right here, these little D notches, D slots, whatever you want to call them, they're set one's right here, one's right here on this side. And just like the other side, you want to line that up with that one and that up with that one. This is exhaust, this is intake. Very, take your time, be careful. Remember, get them in the right spot, get everything on, get everything pushed up by hand, then put your bolts in and tighten and torque everything down. Guys, just take your time and everything will go good. Alright, so we got this side all put together, timed and torqued. Everything is great on this side. We are ready to start the timing procedure. Now, the crank is already at 5 o'clock where we left it. The L is facing exactly where it was when we took everything apart. Just real quick, you see that right there, you see that line right there on right here. If you see it, it corresponds with the L. It's right there. That's where you want to put your painted link on your chain. And then down here, guys, you want to put your painted link on the chain where that mark is. As long as you have that color link right there and then a color link right there, it will be in time. Alright guys, here is the timing marks I was telling you about. One right here, one right here. One goes up on the L, one goes down here on the dot. Pretty straightforward, you cannot get it wrong. Alright, so we're gonna put the chain on right here. You can start up top, you can start on the bottom. I like to start on the bottom, and I'm on the back side because the driver's side goes on the back side. So we got that, and there we go. Our color link on the sprocket is lined up with our color link on the chain. And then we're going to go up here, guys, and we're going to line up the color link right up here. Alright, so there we go. So if you look at it, you can see the line, there's the L. You can see the indentation on the sprocket there, and it lines up with the color link. And then down here you can see the colored spot on the sprocket, and the color link lines up perfect. So now you want to put your guides on. Alright, so once you have your guides on, your tensioner on, and bolted up, and then you pull the pin out to release the tensioner, you are going to make sure that your timing marks, which if you look, the indentation on the sprocket and the timing mark on the sprocket and the color link on the chain are together. And then down here, if you look at it, the color link is lined up with the timing mark on the crank sprocket. So this side is completely in time. So as long as you have that right, you cannot be wrong. Just like the secondary chains, as long as you have the color links lined up correctly, the cams are timed together. If you have everything lined up correctly here, this is timed together, you cannot be wrong. Now here's the part that you need to pay close attention to. In order to time this side, the passenger side, we have to rotate the crank 1 full revolution back to 5 o'clock. Then we keep rotating it clockwise to 12 o'clock. So again, it's at 5 o'clock now. We're going to go clockwise 1 full revolution back to 5 o'clock with the crank keyway. And then we're going to go from there to 12 o'clock. That will put everything back where the engine will be timed side to side. So guys, that's what we're going to do now. So once you go 1 full revolution back to 5 o'clock, then you come back around to 12 o'clock clockwise. You are now ready to put the chain on. Now this side is going to go where the R is, and as you can see the indentation right there, the timing mark on the sprocket itself, where the R is at. Make sure the R is up. Make sure that's right there. And then on the bottom down here, you're going to have to, it's kind of hard to see. I use a mirror a lot of times to see it, but it is right here, guys. Right here. And like I said, I use a mirror to get this where it needs to be. So we're going to time this side right now. So we got this side timed. I got the tensioner on and everything is good to go. I'm going to show you guys. Like I said, you want to put the right there, as you can see. You can see the timing mark on the sprocket matches the color link. And then down here, you can see, let me shine some light on there for you guys. You can see that the color link matches the timing mark on the crank sprocket. So everything is good to go. One thing I want to point out, guys, I've had people email me watching my Gen 2 video and so forth, and they'll say, well, once we rotate the engine and we rotate it back around, the color marks are not on the L and down here. It takes several revolutions for those color links to match back up. That doesn't mean the engine's not in time. So if you want to check, if you go on the mark on the L, do not count the link that is on the mark on the L. You want to start at the next link. Then you want to count links all the way down to the crank sprocket, but you want to stop at the link before the link that's on the mark on the crank sprocket. There should be 31 links between timing marks. So starting here, going to count 1, go all the way down there. There should be 31 links between the 2 timing marks. You can count that and verify that your engine is still in time. Now what I like to do once I get the engine completely timed is I like to go around 2 full crank revolutions. That sends the engine all the way back around and puts it back, and then I will count my links Also, when I do that, I verify by turning over by hand, I did nothing wrong. Everything was done perfect, because if you do nothing wrong, the engine should turn over. It should not get stuck. If the engine gets stuck, if you did something wrong, you'd rather be turning it over by hand than the starter turn it over. So I always turn it over 2 revolutions on the crank to make sure that nothing's contact, everything's turning the way it should, and all is good to go. To make it easier on you, I do suggest removing these spark plugs, because it will make your life a lot easier on you and you won't hate yourself as much. But you can still do it with the plugs in. It just, you're fighting compression at that point. Nothing wrong with that. But if it's out of time, you will know. You can be out of time 1 link. I've had somebody contact me, they were out of time by 1 link and were throwing cam and crank correlation codes. So guys, you got to watch out. Like I said, take a mirror, whatever you got to do down there, and double check and make sure that your links are where they're supposed to be on this side. When you're timing this side, your mark is up here. It's very easy to time. You can see everything. But when you're timing this side, the mark is down on the bottom. Use a mirror, whatever you can, to verify that you're good to go. All right, guys, we got this engine timed up. We are ready to go. I'm going to cut this video here. We're going to pick it back up with the engine completely assembled. I will give you guys a first start up. All right, guys, so we got everything put back together. We got Nick. This is his wife's car over there. His car, we're going to fire this thing up. We got everything primed up. We got oil in it. We got coolant in it. We got everything good to go. So we're ready to fire this thing up. This thing is loud, guys. Forewarned, it is loud. Go ahead. Sounds good. Sounds good up here. Hey, no ticking, no knocking. That's good, right? Everything good, good. Oil pressure look good? Okay, good. Guys, I spilled oil on the headers when I was putting the cams in, so it's gonna have to burn off. Just looking at everything, make sure I ain't got no fuel leaks. That's the biggest thing about messing with this pump. I don't want any fuel leaks or anything like that. Just make sure. Go back here, we got the line on back here. I don't see nothing squirting out, so that's a good thing. Everything looks good, everything sounds good. We gotta let it come up to temperature, let it burn, fill it up with coolant, and then Rob said you could actually drive this around, right?
Yeah, I got the email.
Okay, good to go. Yeah, no wide open. Guys, this car is tuned by none other than Rob Shoemaker with Palm Beach Dyno. So he's got the tune in, everything's looking good. Lambda's looking good.
Oil pressure.
Oil pressure's looking beautiful. Everything is looking good.
It's on the E85.
Short-term fuel trim is looking good. These things actually have a little low.
Very little. Yeah, you can tell it a little bit.
Oh yeah, you can tell a little bit. You've got a Suncoast torque converter, PMAS air intake, E85, long tubes, MBRP catback, race catback.
Yeah, it's got green cats on it also.
Got green cats on it?
Only weight reduction in the back seats out. This is a 401A package, so it's heavy, especially with me in it, you know.
Yeah. It moves. What's your best time in it so far?
We run at Huntsville, Alabama, run a 733. I think it was around 2000 D8.
Yeah.
That's 8 mile. Quarter mile, we run 11.4 at NMR in Bowling Green. It was like 90 degrees when you was there.
Yeah, it was hot that day. That was high D8.
Yeah, that was before the converter and the True Street trim. We still had both leather seats in and everything. All we had out was the back seat. About like a 6 now.
I'm interested to see what's going to run with the cams now.
Oh, yeah.
Man, this thing sounds good.
Do
what?
26 to 28.
Yeah, you went to 28s?
Yeah.
That's what I run. I run the 28s. I like them.
Yeah, we got a lot of net off that 26. On 26, 355 gear, from the start to about the 60 foot is pretty good.
Yeah.
But for a 26 inch, I'm sorry, to the 330, it's pretty good with a 26 inch tire. With a 28 picks up from the 330 on out. So
Yeah.
it makes up for it. So really, you can't go wrong with either tire.
No, you can't.
But if you need to hook, you want a 28.
Yeah, I don't worry about hooking with those.
Yeah.
When I ran those 26s that one time, I left a little easy because I didn't know. But guys, we're gonna let this thing come up to temperature. You also got a YouTube channel. You throw a little stuff here and there.
Yeah.
You got a pretty wicked manual car. I'll throw a little clip in right here, guys, from last Saturday from that car. Guys, we're gonna get the car warmed up. Go check his channel out. He does a little video here every once in a while, nickel white.
S550.
I'll put a link down in the description. But we're gonna let this thing come up to temperature, get the coolant topped off, and then we're gonna drive the car around, make sure everything is good. And then hopefully I'll see this car back Friday at Jackson Dragway.
Also, we loaded the tuning in for this car with the cams.
Yeah, this is Rob Shoemaker's startup tune and drive around tune for you.
For cams.
For
yeah,
cams.
for this,
Yeah. So she's running really good.
Yeah, I got no codes yet, nothing like that. I'm here to my waiting to throw something. No, it ain't thrown nothing.
Yep, we're good to go. Everything's looking good, guys. But guys, I'm gonna get out of here. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you next time.